He possesses the skill set, the raw talent, and now the bullseye on his back. But what transpired in Miami last week wasn't just a harmless leak of training footage. It was a calculated strike against everything Shedeur Sanders symbolizes. And once I pulled back the curtain, what I uncovered about the true source of those leaf clips and the motivations behind them will absolutely stun you. This isn't just about football. It's about dismantling a rising force who is quietly evolving into an unstoppable phenomenon. From the surface, it might look like a standard quarterback competition in Cleveland, but I've been following this story for weeks, and what I've found reveals a storm far more complex. Shedeur isn't just vying for a starting role. He's stepping into a whirlwind of expectations, public scrutiny, and what can only be described as orchestrated sabotage. While most rookie quarterbacks are granted patience and leeway, Shedeur is being dissected under a microscope so intense it would break most men. But here's the part mainstream media refuses to acknowledge. This isn't about footwork or throwing motion. This is about influence, control, and a system that feels threatened by what Shedeur represents. By the end of this breakdown, you'll understand precisely why the powers that be are working overtime to discredit him, and why, despite their efforts, the plan is already unraveling. Let's talk about that Miami footage. While others spent the offseason lounging in luxury resorts or showcasing highlights from exotic vacations, Shedeur Sanders was grinding. Not casually, obsessively. And what's been intentionally left out of the viral footage tells a story the critics are desperate to bury. I got access to the full, unedited training sessions, and what I witnessed wasn't a workout. It was a masterclass in NFL preparation that no rookie should even be capable of executing. We're talking 6 a.m. sessions under brutal 95-degree heat, gruesome uphill squats that would wreck seasoned veterans, weighted sled pushes so intense his own trainers worried he was pushing too far. But here's what matters. It wasn't random effort. Every drill served a purpose. Those squats designed to improve balance and resilience inside the pocket under duress. The sled pushes, engineered to build the core stability required to deliver strikes while absorbing hits. The relentless throwing in that heat to build arm endurance for fourth quarter excellence. Now here's where it gets dark. The leaked footage was strategically cut to portray fatigue, to seed doubt. It showed him breathing heavily between sets, catching his breath. What it conveniently left out were the full drills, executed with precision, endurance, and zero signs of quitting. I spoke to someone who was physically there, and what they shared blew me away. Shedeur's personal QB coach, Daryl Colbert, actually had to ask him to slow down. This wasn't normal work ethic, it was obsession. While others hit the beach, Shedeur hit the film room, reviewing his own mechanics frame by frame, searching for flaws with ruthless intensity. That kind of fixation, it's rare, it's legendary. Tom Brady had it, Peyton Manning had it, and now Shedeur Sanders is exhibiting the same relentless DNA. And yet, critics pounced. He looks tired, they mocked. His mechanics falter under fatigue. They missed the entire point. Pushing past exhaustion in training ensures he never reaches that threshold in a game. While other quarterbacks fade in the final quarter, Shedeur will be finding another gear. This isn't just commitment, it's a complete rewiring of how to prepare for the NFL. And that terrifies the establishment, because they've seen this story before with his father, and they already know how it ends. And that's why they're fighting so hard to shape the narrative before it's too late. Let's shift focus to his mechanical overhaul. This offseason, Shedeur didn't just watch film, he re-engineered himself from the ground up. Alongside Daryl Colbert, they recorded every rep, analyzed every drop back in slow motion, and corrected flaws in real time. His footwork was broken down frame by frame, his release points studied from a dozen angles. Even his eye tracking was refined to accelerate pre-snap reads. The transformation is undeniable. His drop back is now 0.3 seconds quicker. His release is tighter, giving defenders less time to react. His pocket presence has shifted from reactive to commanding. He's no longer bailing, he's stepping up and slicing defenses apart. Now let's expose the double standard. When Josh Allen revamped his throwing mechanics, the media praised him as mature and dedicated to improvement. Shedeur executes an even more advanced overhaul, and suddenly it's spun as desperation or a sign of pressure. One of the most absurd critiques, that he pats the ball before throwing. First of all, Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer, did it his entire career. Second, it's not a pat. It's a precise grip adjustment that ensures elite ball placement. Let's also talk about that Colorado film the critics love to weaponize. Yes, he drifted in the pocket. Yes, mechanics occasionally unraveled, but context matters. He was behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football. I reviewed every snap of that final season. Shedeur faced pressure on 68% of his dropbacks. 68%. No quarterback in history could thrive under that kind of duress. Yet Shedeur still posted over 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns while being repeatedly hit and hurried. That's not failure. That's resilience under fire. It's not a flaw. It's a sign of advanced mastery. I had a former NFL quarterback coach analyze Shedeur Sanders' refined mechanics, and his exact words were, "This is textbook." He said if he had seen the footage without knowing the name, he would have assumed it belonged to a seasoned 5-year starter, not a rookie. The tape doesn't lie. His technique is now cleaner, crisper, and more precise than nearly 80% of starting quarterbacks in the league today. Everyone's talking, and not just casually. The buzz is deafening. This guy isn't settling for checkdowns, they say. He's launching 20-yard missiles across the middle on deep dig routes. So no, it's not about whether he can process defenses. It's how instinctively he reacts once the ball is snapped. A wildfire rumor is blazing across the NFL, and its origin? Cleveland. At first, it sounded ridiculous. A 5th-round rookie taking command of the Browns' quarterback room. Clickbait, fiction. But those murmurs? They're turning into a roar. Something unexplainable is unfolding at Browns camp, and everyone close to the situation agrees on one reality. Shedeur Sanders isn't just flashing promise, he's seizing control. Sure, maybe it doesn't mean everything just yet, but Shedeur has been outstanding. Not just on the field, but in the meeting rooms too. Coaches are smiling, veterans are watching, and according to one source, he's already cracked the room's stone-faced veterans with his charm, poise, and intelligence. This wasn't part of the script. Sanders entered the league with tempered expectations. 5th-rounders aren't supposed to climb the depth chart overnight, especially not with veterans like Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Dylan Gabriel standing in the way. But here we are. Multiple sources say the original plan, it's collapsing fast. Coaches are recalibrating, teammates are whispering, and the front office, they might be frantically trying to stuff the toothpaste back in the tube because Shedeur Sanders is making an undeniable push for QB1. He's disciplined, smart, always upbeat, always smiling, one insider said. You want to be around a guy like that. You want to work with him. And here's the real game changer. It's not just his arm talent, it's his mind. The same traits scouts raved about in the pre-draft process, they're showing up in full force. But it's the intangibles, the mental mastery, the cool under pressure that are fast-tracking his rise. One coach put it plainly, his mental tools, they'll get him on the field faster than anything else. The turning point? A high-octane minicamp drill. Full speed, move the ball. The kind of drill where every rep counts, and rookies usually stand back and watch. But not this time. Shedeur stepped in ahead of Dylan Gabriel, unannounced. No fanfare, just quiet confidence. He took the huddle like a 10-year vet. And then he lit it up. He wasn't checking down. He wasn't easing into the moment. He was ripping strikes, 20-yard lasers across the middle, threading tight windows, commanding the offense like he owned it. An observer called it for what it was. This wasn't luck. This was a statement. Let's talk numbers. Sanders completed 74% of his passes last season at Colorado, over 71% for his career, and that's with over 90 sacks in just 2 years. He was under constant duress and still looked like a surgeon. Now, he's behind an NFL offensive line surrounded by pro-level weapons, and according to leaked camp footage, he's dismantling defenses. Every clip shows the same story: completions. Big ones, crisp ones, middle of the field bullets, sideline fades, red zone darts. And inside the organization, thing really blowing minds isn't just the throws, it's how Shedeur processes the game. One coach said he sees it on the whiteboard, walks through it once, then executes it in live reps like he's been running it for 5 years. That kind of cerebral sharpness is unheard of, especially for a day 3 draft pick. The mental acceleration, the ability to transfer information to execution without hesitation, That's championship DNA. By all accounts, he's already been one of the most polished, composed day 3 rookies evaluators can remember. Now the real question becomes, can he not only make the roster, but command reps during training camp and eventually win the job? It's a tall order, but it's not impossible, because this quarterback room, it's wide open. There's no Matthew Stafford, no Jared Goff, no cemented franchised QB. If it comes down to pure skill, Shedeur might already have the edge. And if you think this is media hype, think again. This is real. This is happening. And if Kenny Pickett starts week 1, it might say more about Kevin Stefanski's job security than it does about talent, because from where we're standing, Shedeur Sanders might be the best quarterback on that roster. There's growing chatter that Kevin Stefanski feels the pressure. Real pressure. The kind that comes when your job is on the line. And sources close to the Browns believe it's already shaping his decisions. If he starts Shedeur Sanders, it signals one thing. He's been granted some grace, a little breathing room to develop a young, dynamic talent. But if he rolls with Kenny Pickett, that screams urgency. It means win now or pack your bags. I've been told for weeks by someone deep inside the building that the week 1 starter would be either Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel. The plan? Flacco and Sanders were supposed to battle it out for the QB3 spot. But here's what nobody saw coming. Shedeur Sanders flipped the script. And now, the locker room is shifting. His posture is lighter, his release is quicker, and his accuracy has elevated dramatically. This is no longer the same quarterback we saw in Boulder. This is something far more dangerous. Yet they keep shifting the goalposts, refusing to acknowledge the obvious. A young, unapologetic black quarterback who refuses to play small while outworking everyone around him. That's what unsettles them. True leadership doesn't always come with a megaphone. In Cleveland's quarterback room, Shedeur Sanders is proving that the most dominant form of leadership is silent, consistent, and undeniable. Behind closed doors, the energy is changing. Coaches and veterans are starting to take notice, while critics scramble to explain away what they never anticipated. I've spoken to people embedded within the Browns organization, and the reports paint a portrait of a rookie operating like a 10-year pro. He's the first one in the building and the last to leave. He takes notes during meetings on plays not even designed for him. Every teammate interaction marked by humility, intention, and a genuine desire to elevate those around him. One moment encapsulates it perfectly. During a recent practice, veteran receiver Amari Cooper slightly adjusted a route mid-skay. Rather than showing frustration, Shedeur calmly pulled him aside and said, "Show me how you like to run that. I want to place it exactly where you want it." That's not rookie behavior. That's the mentality of a franchise quarterback. And yet the media paints his confidence as arrogance, as if he hasn't earned the right to lead. Let's be real. They said the same about Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, and every black quarterback who dared to carry himself like a general before the league handed him the crown. But leadership isn't granted. It's taken, and Shedeur Sanders is quietly taking control of the huddle, of the locker room, and of the culture. He leads with calm, clarity, and a composed confidence that's infectious. Even veterans are adjusting their routines because of him. Joe Flacco, 16 years in the league, has been spotted mimicking Shedeur's pre-practice habits. Kenny Pickett has begun staying late to drill the same footwork techniques Shedeur repeats daily. That's not coincidence. That's respect. One veteran who requested anonymity said it best. He's different. He doesn't act like a rookie because he doesn't think like one. He's already one of us, but he's also pushing all of us to level up. That type of respect can't be bought or fabricated. It's earned through relentless consistency, work ethic, and the kind of authentic leadership that inspires those around you to raise their game. One of the clearest indicators during team meetings, when coaches ask tough questions, players instinctively look toward Shedeur, not because he's the loudest, but because he's the most prepared. He doesn't lead with charm or politics. He leads with competence. And just recently, Grossi let something monumental slip, something that somehow flew under the radar. The mainstream media hasn't picked it up. Twitter hasn't even caught wind. But if you care about Shedeur Sanders, and especially if you care about how this Browns roster is being constructed, this changes everything. Here's what happened. Grossi was discussing this year's training camp and the ever-complicated quarterback situation. You've got Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. 4 very different paths. But while everyone else obsesses over who's going to be QB1 or which veteran looks best in shorts, Grossi dropped a bombshell that stopped me in my tracks. He said, and I quote, "Rookie draft picks are always safe under Andrew Barry. He does not cut his rookie draft picks their first season." Let that sink in. Not some rookie picks, not most, always. That's not a preference. It's an organizational doctrine. That's a front-over policy. If Andrew Barry handpicked you in the draft, especially in this 2024 class, you're not just in camp for reps. You're making the team. Smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and sound off in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on this because it matters. And Grossi doubled down. When asked directly whether Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel would survive final roster cuts, he didn't hedge. He didn't say, "We'll see how camp plays out." He said, "They're making the 53-man roster, period." That's a seismic shift because most people still view this QB room through the outdated lens of a rigid pecking order. Flacco at the top, then Pickett, then Gabriel, then Shedeur. The assumption? Sanders is a developmental project. Take some preseason snaps, ride the bench, fade into the background. Wrong. That's 2002 logic. The Browns are playing a whole different game now. They're not playing checkers, they're playing chess. Let's get some perspective. In just the last 2 seasons, the Browns have cycled through 9 different starting quarterbacks. That's not a typo. 9. 4 just last season, 5 the year before. That's not depth. That's a crisis. So when people ask, is Shedeur going to play? The real question is, how soon? Because based on history, someone's going down. That depth chart is a revolving door. And when that happens, and it will, who do you trust? A 40-year-old vet on borrowed time? Or a rookie with 4 years of team control and upside bursting at the seams? Let's be honest. Joe Flacco, while heroic in his 2023 run, is 40 years old. Even Grossi called him a physical anomaly and admitted nobody knows if his body can survive another 17-game grind. Then there's Kenny Pickett, essentially a 1-year rental, not the long-term solution. These aren't franchise cornerstones. They're placeholders, and everybody knows it, including them. Now, here's the part nobody's talking about enough. Rookie contracts. That 4-year deal Shedeur signed? That's not just ink on paper. It's leverage. It's flexibility. It's how you build around a young QB without committing $200 million, 0 cents in guaranteed money. While Watson's deal is anchoring the cap at a ludicrous $36 million, 0 cents, the Browns front office added 4 quarterbacks for a grand total of just $7,500,000, 0 cents against the cap. That's elite level roster architecture. And with Shedeur and Gabriel under rookie deals, that's not just depth, it's a long-term chess move. One Browns insider put it bluntly, if one of the kids starts and it's a disaster, we're all getting fired. Behind the scenes, the original blueprint was conservative. Bring Shedeur along slowly, let him marinate. QB3 duties, scout team, meetings, clipboard in hand. He wasn't supposed to shake the foundation this early, but then came the film. Coaches watched his practice tape and had the same reaction. We can't unsee this. Every throw was precise, every rep clinical. Quiet conversations in the front office turned into urgent discussions. One executive allegedly said, "We thought we could stash him. Now we're wondering if we have to start him." That puts Stefanski in a brutal bind. If he starts Pickett or Gabriel and they sputter, fans will be screaming for Shedeur by week 3. But if he rolls the dice early and Sanders struggles, the front office might accuse him of pulling the trigger too soon. Make no mistake, Stefanski's leash is tight. Whispers suggest if Pickett starts, Stefanski's coaching to survive. If Sanders starts, it means the GM has bought him time. And the tension? It's palpable. Sources say Pickett is frustrated. Flacco is keeping it professional, but he knows what's happening. Gabriel, once a quiet dark horse, now finds himself on the outside looking in, watching a 5th rounder sprint past him on the depth chart. One anonymous staffer captured the mood perfectly. You can feel it in the building. The silence, the glances. Everyone's waiting for Stefanski to make the call, but let's be honest. This isn't about internal politics anymore. It's It's about momentum. And right now, Sanders has it all. He's winning on the field. He's winning in the film room. He's winning in the locker room. Even the media is catching up. Former NFL wideout James Jones went on air this week and didn't mince words. Sanders is the Browns' best option right now. Not someday, not next year, now. Behind the scenes, there's also speculation that Stefanski initially wanted Sanders, but the front office took Gabriel 2 rounds earlier, possibly not because they loved Gabriel more, but to deter impulsive influence from ownership. So don't fall for the surface level narratives. Don't get distracted by meaningless depth chart noise or draft round assumptions. Watch the decisions. Follow the money. Listen carefully to the tone coming out of the building, because when the inevitable quarterback injury hits, and in Cleveland it will, the question won't be, will Shedeur get a shot? It'll be, is the NFL ready when he does? And before we go further, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and sound off in the comments. Your support fuels these deep dives. Thank you. Now let's talk about Deshaun Watson, because let's be honest, the front office already sees how that chapter ends. Whether it's the injury history, the inconsistency, or the constant off-field chaos that surrounded him since arriving in Cleveland, it's clear this storyline is closing before it ever truly got off the ground. That's the truth few are brave enough to say out loud. So what do you do when your quarterback room is full of question marks, maybes, and ticking clocks? You stop slapping on band-aids and start laying bricks. You pivot from desperation to development. And that's exactly what I believe the Browns are finally doing, building a true quarterback pipeline from the ground up. At the core of it, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. Let that sink in. Think about what that means. What better way to groom a young quarterback than in a system where he doesn't need to be a savior on day one? He doesn't have to win over the city in a single game. He doesn't have to be perfect from the jump. He gets time, he gets mentorship, he gets to study, observe, and gradually evolve. And when the injuries pile up or when the veterans run out of steam, he's ready. Not rushed, ready. According to a report on SICOM's, Shedeur Sanders is already showing signs of being the future QB1 in Cleveland. Not necessarily this season, but soon. Think 2025. And this isn't media hype, it's coming from those inside the facility. Coaches, analysts, insiders, people who know what an NFL quarterback's supposed to look like are seeing it with their own eyes. His arm talent, his command of the huddle, his poise under pressure. And then Tony Gross said something that made my ears perk up. He mentioned that Kevin Stefanski and the Browns are returning to their bread and butter. Pound the rock, utilize the tight ends, and lean on play action passing. That, my friends, is a dream scenario for a young quarterback. A system tailor-made for Shedeur's strengths. He already has the arm to make those play-action throws. He just needs to speed up the reads and adjust to the NFL tempo. And for the die-hard prime-time fans out there, the ones who believe in Deion's vision and Shader's grit, this is your moment. And that's what exposes the critics' true fear. They're not evaluating his leadership. They're uncomfortable with his refusal to ask for permission to lead. What separates good cornerbacks from great ones isn't just arm strength or athleticism, it's the ability to process information at elite speed while remaining composed under fire. And if you watch Shedur's recent practice film with the right lens, you'll see something that should terrify every defensive coordinator in the league. A rookie whose mental game is already faster than most veterans. Had a former NFL defensive coordinator break down Shedeur's pre-snap process. His analysis? Most rookies are still trying to locate the Mike linebacker when the ball is snapped. Shedeur's already 3 reads deep. He's diagnosing leverage, deciphering coverage rotations, and predicting route combinations before the snap. He's not reacting, he's anticipating. That's no accident. That's the product of a football IQ forged from childhood, of film sessions with his Hall of Fame father instead of video games, of absorbing lessons from legends and leaders his entire life. But here's what makes him truly lethal. It's not just that he thinks quickly, it's that he thinks correctly. During a recent 7-on-7 session, the defense disguised a cover 2 pre-snap and rolled into cover 3 post-snap. Many young quarterbacks would panic or force a bad throw. Shedeur calmly found his check down for a 12-yard gain and jogged back to the huddle like it was routine. That's poise. That's precision. His mental edge doesn't stop at reads, it extends to obsession-level preparation. I've been told he spends 3 hours a night dissecting film, not just of his own reps, but of opposing defenses, studying blitz tendencies, coverage patterns, hidden cues. One coach described him as obsessive in the most brilliant way. He doesn't just memorize the playbook, he understands it. He grasps the why behind every route concept, every protection scheme, every audible. By the time the coordinator calls in the play, Shedeur already knows what the defense is likely to do, and he's got a counter ready. That's why he doesn't panic when pressure comes. While other quarterbacks are reacting, Shedeur is already responding to what's next. It's the subtle but critical difference between playing fast and thinking fast. And thinking fast is what wins championships. Critics keep insisting he's improving, that he just needs more time to adjust to NFL speed, but they're blind to what's unfolding in real time. He's not adjusting to the league. He's already playing at its pace. The game isn't too fast for him. His mind is faster than the game itself. And that's not something you can teach. It's not something you gain with time. That's something you're born with. And it's why Shedeur Sanders isn't just surviving in Cleveland, he's starting to take over. There's a quiet transformation underway in that locker room. Most people can't see it yet, but the signs are all around if you know where to look. What began as an open quarterback competition is becoming something much bigger. Thank you guys. See you next video.